Okay, now we need to work on the facade, the elevation. So before we start to modify this wall, we would like to establish a rhythm and a module. And one way to do it is by establishing a grid. So we would like to sort of establish a grid vertically as well as horizontally. So what we like to do is go to the level 1 and actually create a grid. That grid is created by going to Architecture, Grid, and I can basically go like this, and basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a grid and go this way, 16, 17, and so on, and I can go through the right or to the left and go vertical as well as horizontal. This grid is used for structural purposes. We refer to it as a structural grid. This grid is used for design purposes and for tenant study or ownership and condo studies and so on, and just boundary lines as well. I'm going to primarily at this stage use it for design. Now watch this. I have actually created a grid establishing my small scale or medium scale module bay. So as you turn into this area, you actually can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 larger modules. Then each module is subdivided into 1, 2, 3 bays. The head element at 1 bay and 1/3 grows into it. This kind of lends itself to those secrets that we learned and studied from Renaissance architecture. The main body then leads into the anchor store or restaurant or unit, which then calls for a focal point within here and focal point outside into the site. The main body with the head lead to then the focal point, the anchor store, and the ending, what I call the tail. Here you have what we've so far composed is a zone set back for a green area to separate the existing neighborhood community R1 zoning from this shopping center. You enter right off Route 29 into the shopping center this way. From the community, you can come back this way. The loading can happen right along here. And you have when the residential walk comes here, or from the residential community, they can walk. And here there's a possibility of a covered loggia from both ends, providing access from the residential unit. Now let's see how we can utilize that grid in elevation or in section. So if I went to my west elevation, I notice that I have a similar gimmick composed here to the image that we were looking. Look at this. These are the elements that establish the rhythm. So I kind of composed something like that, except I used two different line typology. Let's take a look. Here I used annotate, detail line. Here I used architecture, model line. The difference is the detail line can only be seen in this west elevation because I only composed it in west elevation. West elevation, I'm looking from the front of this wall, so any line that I draw that goes over the wall remains over here. This composition of model lines was composed in a reference plane. You say, what's a reference plane? I'm going to go to level 1, and that green line, which was model line, which it was composed on this reference plane. I created a reference plane. I can create it like this, and I can also name it like this, MMM. And in this case, I created a reference plane, called it west body, right behind my wall. That reference plane allows me to literally build a 3D model with lines that will show in my 3D like this. And because it was behind the wall, right behind the wall, you can actually see it. It will allow me to create 3D compositions with that line, whereas the west elevation lines that I had, these orange lines, are simply for me to get a sense of what it is that I want to do. They are literally sketch lines, whereas these are a little bit more useful in their 3D model lines, where these are view specific and they're just sketch lines. Now let's see the difference. I sketched some lines with the detail lines here in west elevation. I also did some in section A over here. Now you can't see this one. The reason is these were composed in section A. These were composed off of the reference plane, and the other ones were composed in the west elevation, so dramatically different. All right, once again, only the model lines will show. Can I change? I'm going to change these for a second to become model lines. I can convert them to model lines. See, if I just click, it will remind me that these just converted to model lines. Let's go back here. Here you can see. You say, oh, wait a minute, these colors are different. These colors have nothing to do with it. I can take the model line and literally change the line to be also orange. So that has nothing to do with it. This is simply distinguishing that all of these are model lines, and I may actually have different colors or different ways of expressing them because I may want to do totally different things with them. So I'm going to go back to my section line, and I'm going to say, so what is this? Is this a construction line or what? So whatever you like to change, let's say I want to change all of these, make sure that I would like to convert them to detail lines, then I would actually say it says, I'm having a hard time. You decide what you want to do. Because they're different, they're going to have a hard time to just mix and match. So be very careful. You don't want to convert them. Right now, I'm just going to say, right now, you just confused us. Which ones do you want to do? And I want to just go undo and make sure that, in fact, all of these are the same typologies of lines. All right, so I'm going to go to 3D. I undid everything so it's nice and clean. I want to make sure that I understand that detail lines are view specific, model lines are model. They can be seen in 3D. All right, let's go back. Remember how to draw sections. All right, so I'm going to erase this section. And it says you want to delete it, and I say yes, that section 4 was deleted over here. I'm going to draw it again. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put my section here. Make sure you see the dashed line, otherwise it gets crooked and then it's useless. Make sure it is parallel to the plane that you're interested, or 90 degrees to the planes that you're interested. So this is my section. The dashed line suggests how far I can actually see and penetrate through. If I want to stop right here, or I still want to go back here. If I want to look in that direction or look in this direction. And if I want to get to the section, I can get to the section this way. Or I can go to the section, since that was section 4 and I know that was section 4, I can get to it this way. Thank you.